Mr. Burgess.
Through the chair, I'd say that
providing we haven't should have reserve. I would just appreciate
dollars year over year. Does Rogers require if
through the chair, yeah, council can approve it with a funding source to be identified subsequent with a potential budget amendment. That's fine. And it'd be contingent. The budget amendment would be contingent upon receiving confirmation from Rogers that that they were successful. But at that point in time, you would have to restrict some of the funding. You couldn't spend out the most easily identifiable funding source. So it'd be tough for council to spend $1 million someplace else, and then Rogers out of that fund, and then Rogers says we're successful, give you $250, and there's no place to pull it from. But yes, no, the councillor is right. We can do it and declare and do a budget amendment later in the year.
Thank you, Jason. I'm going to Councillor Columbus, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And yes, I totally support enhancing broadband connection. I don't know if you are aware of it, but in the north part of the county here, when Silos sold out to ExploreNet, we basically have very, very bad connections for our farming operations. And every week I get calls from families that have school children, can't get their internet connection. So it's pretty serious out there. The only way that we need today to communicate. And Mayor Chop mentioned that she received this in the middle of last week. I happened to call Brent Wallace today to find out what he knew about this proposal, and he said he didn't know anything about it. He didn't even see the report. So, Mr. Burgess, how come our IT director wasn't involved in these discussions? I know I'm being pretty direct, but I think I have to be. He should be. I mean, he's involved with SWIFT, and I don't know how Councilor Michelli was informed about it, but I think he should have been part of these 15-minute discussions as well. But for our IT director not to have been invited, didn't even know this report was out today when I informed him, to me, it's just not right, sir. If you could comment on that, please.
Sure. Yeah, thank you through the chair. In a perfect world, we would have had input from Brent. To be fair, the request from Rogers was to the mayor. The mayor looped me in essentially because we had another meeting that ran over. So I jumped on the Rogers call. So I wouldn't have known about it. And the call was Friday at 3, I think it was. I did the report on the weekend.
Thursday, Jody out that I said to Jason, I said, hey, can you jump on this meeting with me? I'm not even really sure what it's about. So, we did our best to pull it together. And the reason they were asking for a rushed meeting was, again, because the applications were going to be due on February the 15th, and they needed, obviously, the letter of support to go along with it.
Thank you, Mayor Chop. As you said, it's an amazing opportunity. I agree. Thank you.
Councilor Michelli, if I can just elaborate one more point on the funding source. If it's not coming out of the council strategic, I can't think of anything more strategic for Norfolk County, especially when it was the #1 issue identified by our Economic Recovery Task Force. The criticism before was that it was, not council recommendations and they were staff recommendations. And that was a little bit in part why contacted Councillor Michelli immediately after the meeting. And it wasn't just, choosing Councillor Michelli over Brant, was because of Councillor Michelli's involvement with SWIFT and being such a huge advocate for Norfolk County for bringing broadband to all of Norfolk. So
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll go to Councillor Van Passen now.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You might recognize where I'm sitting in lovely downtown Simcoe, because living in the rustic countryside, I don't have good enough internet service that I could join you on this type of meeting. So I support this project 100%. I don't understand what the big discussion is over use of the council initiative reserve to sort of make an application pop to try to get funding from the government to look after this. I thought that's the kind of thing that reserve is for. It's when something new comes up that's unbudgeted that you had a source to draw upon to fund things that come in at last minute. Maybe one of the problems with this county over the years is when they were willing to spend money, they didn't identify a source up front. And here we're trying to do that. We're going to support a great project. We didn't know it was coming. Luckily, we've got money tucked away just in case something like this comes along. And we're going to tell everybody where that money is going to come from. And the benefits are going to come later on to the entire county of Norfolk. And allow people to access the internet. I read an article earlier today, I believe in the Reformer, that the greatest need for economic improvement after COVID in southwestern Ontario is based on high-speed internet and natural gas. And we get both of those things going here in 2021. That puts us one step.
Going in with that application, like having everything approved, I don't want there to be any questions about it. This is an amazing opportunity. So, yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Councillor Huffman?
Thank you, Chair Michelle. I don't have too much more to add. I think the point's been beleaguered. This is a great opportunity for Norfolk County, and looking forward to seeing where this initiative takes us. Thank you.
And Councillor Martin?
Sorry, Mr. Chair, I think you might have skipped Councillor Rabbits, but I'll just make my point very quickly.
Sorry, I was going to him next. I wasn't sure which of you two.
He definitely beat me, but
I had 7 hands raised, and
No, you're doing a great job. I guess I just want to clarify that my concern is not actually the funding source, or that's not the concern. It's not a worry for me that we're debating that aspect of it. I just don't feel like I quite know enough about it to give it that stamp of approval and say, yes, I want to give it this much money for this many years from this account. I just simply would like to hear a little bit more from them. Maybe we can even do, if they have the time and they're interested, a few separate meetings with council members just virtually this week, so we don't have quorum, get the information, have a presentation, ask some questions, and then come the next council meeting next Tuesday, decide there on the funding source. Like I said, in support, not really debating the use of the fund or whatnot. I just don't feel like I have enough information in front of me right now that I want to give it past that latter part of the motion with the funding at this time. It's not that I am opposed to it. I think there's probably a lot of merit in beefing up the application in this exact way. I just don't know enough about it. I'm not an expert at that. So wanted to clarify, not the funding source that is of concern to me, just looking for some more information in general.
Councillor Rabbits?
Thank you, and through you, this will be my final time speaking to the matter. I did bring up the funding source as I just feel that I do need to find out more about the long-term plan for this. So it's 4 years, $250,000 commitment that leads into another term of council, assuming they still have a council initiative reserve fund. So we're going to continue with our policy of topping it up to $1 million. I believe that's the direction staff are operating under. We haven't changed this policy or established a terms of reference, and so that's really kind of the crux of my hang up, I guess, or why I'm asking you about the source of the funding. I'm looking for acknowledgement that this is going to pass into another term of council. I want to ensure that reserve is established and those monies are there once we're successful in this application. Ultimately, I'm voting in favor of this, folks, but I think it does feel a bit rushed, and it is, which is fine. We need to make decisions quickly sometimes when opportunities present themselves. I'm coming around. But to that point, there needs to be a debrief, there needs to be some follow-up afterwards. So when we're having our discussion about the Initiative Reserve Fund, we need to acknowledge that we've locked ourselves in $1 million over 4 years if this decision is ultimately successful. And that needs to become part of those terms of reference for that account, right? If we are going to be identifying a funding source and not leaving it gray or open for drawing from a depleted reserve, we need to enshrine and make sure those monies are there. Because ultimately we're going to have a changing of the guard one day. There's going to be another election, and who knows what that future council will do. I think it's part, of our strategy and our mandate here to, set them up better than the sort of we had. Whether those members be present today or watching our meeting today, I think that's part of our strategic direction, part of our strategic plan, right? And I'm having a recommendation. I didn't even hear some of that language, being alluded to. So that 15-minute presentation that I was not privy to, this council wasn't part of, absolutely, it'd be nice to have that forthcoming in a future, presentation. Sorry for being so long-winded tonight, but this is important. We're talking about $1 million here over 4 years, and I just want to make sure that if we're doing this, the monies are there. When maybe I might not be, or this council may not be, right?
Mayor Chop.
Mr. Chair, I think there's a piece that's being missed here. This is monies that are only going out if we are successful in the funding application. So this isn't handcuffing future councils. I asked, you can go online. I think they're anticipating springtime as being a decision by the feds as to who will be the successful recipients. This isn't a long time horizon. It's a very short time horizon to get an answer from them. And they said it, depending on the volume of applications, it could go a little bit further. The likelihood of us finding something to use the $1 million that's in there between now and then, of course, all of this council knows if we made that commitment, there's not even necessarily a commitment to have to draw from future monies from future council because the $1 million is sitting there. So at the time, if you wish to dedicate the entire $1 million that's already in that reserve account as being allocated to paying that, you would be able to do that. So it's not handcuffing future councils. I respectfully would suggest that or ask that, I think council needs to demonstrate complete support for this. And if you wish to pull the item next week, I certainly will reach out to Rogers. I'm sure they will have no problem either doing a presentation at council next Tuesday or alternatively reaching out to councillors individually. And if between now and next Tuesday or after their presentation next Tuesday, you want to pull away from the staff recommended motion, well, that's fine. But I think, $1 million is what the proposal is to bring rural internet to 9,100, unserviced homes in Norfolk County right to their doorstep. And I don't even think that this should be a question for, that is the best $1 million you will ever spend if that made us successful in getting that application. Hands down.
Thank you, Mayor Chop. Councillor Martin.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chair. I didn't recognize I still had my hand up, but I will take advantage of this. I think we can still provide full support in endorsing this and sending the letter, and then council members can find out a little bit more about the program and then follow up with an endorsement on the funding. I do want to support this as a united front unanimously. I think that Mayor Chop's suggestion is a great suggestion, but as it sits right now, I will not be endorsing spending the $1 million. So I would respectfully ask that be separated from the motion. We find out more information and then vote on that. That would make me feel a lot better about the use of that money.
Yeah, sorry, Councillor Michelle, I didn't realize my video had
Sorry,
clicked off.
Mayor Chop, you're on.
Yeah, no, I think Councillor Taylor nailed it on the head. What a better way to communicate that you have, a relatively young council. Hey, we're moving forward in Norfolk County. This is to communicate that the funding is even coming from the Strategic Initiative Fund. I think Councillor Michelle, you will recall that I said the very same thing to you the other day. That is part of the story itself. And I would like to move the motion with the staff recommendation as printed. If it fails, Councillor Martin, you can move it for just a letter of support. That's fine. If you want to pull the motion next week, I will continue to reach out to Rogers. I will get Rogers to speak to each of the council members. And if you want to revisit the motion next week, that's at council. But I am putting the motion as recommended on the floor. And I stand by it 1,000,000%. That this has the opportunity to be a real game changer for Norfolk County, and I don't even see how this is, even a contentious issue.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I do believe Councillor Taylor is our seconder. And is there any more debate or discussion? Councillor Martin.
Yeah, so the motion's on the floor. That's great. Support the internet. Don't support the use of the money. Look forward to speaking forward to Rogers and learning more. And Mayor Chop, it's easy for you to say that because you have been privy to that 15-minute conversation. That's all I'm asking for before use of the money. So that's my position. I won't be supporting the motion in full. I do support the notion of internet in Norfolk County. Thank you.
Well, our CAO was privy to the conversation and has the highest guy of the corporation that is supporting it, and also agrees on the opportunity that this could potentially provide. In fact, some of the ideas with waiving the permit fees, I mean, that's, you know, that's why we're paying Jason, who came up with that. What a great idea. Thank you, Jason.
Through you, Mr. Chair, it's not about who is privy to the report and whose opinion I trust more. It's just simply that I have to represent my constituents when I vote, and I am not privy to that information. That is not a dig to you or staff. That's my personal preference to have that information come to me firsthand.
Any other discussion or debate from committee? Seeing none, we will have the motion. Kevin, would you read this motion for us, please?
Certainly. That staff report CAO 21-09 regarding the Council's strategic fund be received as information, and that the mayor will provide a letter of support for Rogers Communications Inc.'s proposal, and that if Rogers Communications Inc.'s proposal is approved, Norfolk County will waive all permit fees and provide a minimum of $1 million in financial contribution over a 4-year period, and further that the proposal from Rogers Communications Inc. be considered an exclusion as outlined in Norfolk County Purchasing Policy ECS 02 Section 14.1 as the supplies and/or services are provided by or for utilities.
Thank you very much. I believe I'm going to request a recorded vote unless there's a member who objects to that. Councillor Huffman.
Thank you, Chair Michelle. I know we kind of have done them earlier, but this is CIC and we don't do recorded votes in CIC. So I think we've kind of broken protocol earlier tonight, and I don't know why we have to keep having recorded votes.
Okay, I think we had established that earlier, Councillor Huffman, that the virtual meetings sometimes require that for clarity and certainty. But if you're objecting to my suggestion, we could put that to a vote if you'd prefer. Are we content then, Kevin, if you'll proceed?
Okay, so we're proceeding with a recorded vote. Beginning with Councillor Rabbits.
Yes.
Councillor Columbus.
No.
Councillor Martin.
No.
Councillor Van Passen.
Yes.
Councillor Huffman.
Yes.
Councillor Taylor.
Yes.
Mayor Chop.
It's a no-brainer. Yes.
And Chair Michelle.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-2.
Councillor Rabbits.
Thank you. Through you. It's just one question that I forgot to ask, honestly, early on is I was hoping for maybe some feedback from our telecommunications advisory committee, or if we could have some sort of response from that group or have them solicited. I really appreciate that.
It's got a staff direction.
Yeah, that's a very good suggestion, Councillor Rabbits. Again, all of this information coming very recently, so there are several parties that probably should be informed. And we will move on now to There is a notice of motion. We have one from Councillor Taylor regarding the Tourism and Economic Development Advisory Board appointment. Councillor Taylor, do you wish to introduce the motion to be presented at next week's council meeting?
Yes, please. And if I could just speak to this quickly, that'd be nice as well.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so Cindy's expression of interest didn't cross Kevin's desk until after he had prepared our January 12th closed session report. She is a valued member of the TDAB committee, and staff certainly would like to recommend Cindy remain as a member. And beyond that, Kevin, if there's anything else you'd like to add, go for it. I think it's a no-brainer. She's awesome.
Through you, Chair Michelle, the other component of Councillor Taylor's motion is a housekeeping item to make sure that we have the one-time exemption to the terms of reference, which state the maximum number of members on TDAB. But with that motion, there will be the one-time exemption for the 2-year period. Thank you.
And so, Kevin, what is our next step?
Just quickly scrolling here, sorry. Our next step would be item, to enter into closed session for item 10A.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. We are complete with Councillor Taylor's notice of motion? Okay.
Yep.
So then we will need to, I think, Kevin, if I am not mistaken, can we move to general announcements before we do that?
Yeah, correct. Sorry, I was just, I was on the other page.
Okay, I'm sorry, that's fine. I certainly understand that. Are there any general announcements from committee? Mayor Chop.
Just a couple of comments. Jason sent out an email to council regarding the phone call with General Hillier today for all of the mayors of the 444 municipalities. They, essentially, the province is moving through their stages. We're very lucky here in Haldeman and Norfolk to have vaccinated, and Marlene, you can correct me if I say anything wrong, but all of our long-term care and retirement facilities. There's 34 health districts in the province, and we're certainly learning that has not occurred in all 34 districts. So a giant, thank you to all of our public health staff and paramedics for being able to accomplish that task. We have had several inquiries from the older population that are wondering at what point in time they will be contacted for their immunizations. The province still has a limited number of vaccines. They are looking at, I believe, the second phase coming on the beginning of April. And at that point, they will be moving into the over 80 category. And I know our public health team is working in collaboration with the Delhi Medical Center, as well as the other local physicians. And maybe, Marlene, I might give you an opportunity to kind of add on into there, just because we are starting to get a number of emails of people inquiring when they're going to be contacted.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Madam Mayor. We have been successful in vaccinating all of the residents at long-term care and all of our retirement homes. And we're doing actually second doses this week, and we anticipate that we'll have all of the residents completed by the end of this week with their second dose. We also, when we were able to, we did also vaccinate a small subset of the staff in long-term care and retirement homes, but subsequently the ministry and the general have requested that stop, and so we'll be doing that on day 35, which should start sometime next week. As you've stated, we are not able to move forward at this time until we get ministerial and general consent, so we are waiting for that. We are optimistic that we'll get that very shortly. But at this point in time, we do have to hold. We are anticipating more vaccine doses in the coming weeks prior to April. And then once we have that, it may be to do some of our healthcare providers, the second doses, the healthcare providers that haven't even had their initial doses, and then it will be initiated into the community living population. We are very grateful. We do have a health sector partnership task force locally across Haldimand, Norfolk, and we are working with the Delhi Family Health Team, the Haldimand Family Health Team, both of our EMS partners, and our hospital partners to mobilize multiple clinics. We are ready to mobilize once we get that direction to be able to vaccinate the population once it's all available. So as soon as it's available, we will proceed. And thank you for the opportunity, and I'm happy to answer any further questions.
Thanks very much, Marlene. You're on mute, Tom.
Thanks, Mayor Chop. Jason Godby, I see you have your hand raised. Is there something you need to put in?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just very quickly, I wanted to just tell everyone verbally here, I'm not sure how far the message has gotten out with regards to the interurban water supply study. Those who are looking for it, there's a copy of the staff reports, there's a copy of the report itself, as well as the presentation from WSP, all available online, Norfolk County's website. Navigate to living, then under water and wastewater on the right-hand side, you'll see the interurban water supply, and all that information is there. And that's all I had to say. Thank you all very much. Have a good night.
Thank you, Jason. Good night. Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Councillor Michelli. Oh, yeah. Just an update regarding Indwell, the Dogwood Suites downtown. I've had a few inquiries. People think it's not coming along as fast as people would have thought. So I put out a couple feelers. They've run into problem after problem. First, the steel beams and were rotted out at the bottom, so they had to replace that, and then they realized the roof was as damaged as it was, so they had to tear that down, which allowed for them to put the additional third story on. And the most recent one, when they were looking to sink some of their the elevator mechanics into the basement, they found the river that runs under the building. So they had to seal that up and redraw where the elevator goes, but they certainly are still planning on this fall being open. They are still on track for that, and the exterior is currently going up. I watch it from across the street every day, and it certainly is going up. So all the best luck to them for hopefully the roadblocks stop.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. That's very encouraging. Councillor Columbus.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A couple things here. During the course of this meeting, I had a communication from one of the members that we discussed about whether we should be appointing somebody to Ward 2 seat or whether it should go to election. And apparently, this is to the deputy clerk. Apparently, they sent letters in to council that were to be distributed for this meeting about what their thoughts were as to whether it should be an appointment or election. And I understand they were supporting the move to have actually an appointment. Kevin, do you have any information on that?
So we typically put in on the info packs all the communications we receive from the public, and that runs on a a Thursday to Wednesday cycle, so that we can get it on. If we missed it, my apologies. But if it came in late, we might have missed it, and the comments could have. The report went out on Friday, so I'm suspecting that we received those correspondence over the weekend, and it will be included in next week's info pack.
Yes, I was told it was actually sent to clerk, so to the clerk's file. So anyway, I don't know what the letter said or anything, but they were suggesting that they would prefer appointment rather than spending the money on an election. The other thing, I just got a message here while we're sitting here. The offshore program with respect to vaccinations, this is for Ms. Miranda. Is there any move as to how that will be handled? These workers will be coming in shortly. And are they to be vaccinated, Marlene?
So through the chair, at this point, we do not have that direction. We continue to advocate for them to be tested before arrival to get support from the federal government for the initial isolation period and to have them vaccinated. But at this point, there is no further direction, but staff will continue to do so.
Thank you for that update.
Thank you, and I don't see any other general announcements. I just have one of my own. I want to thank Brent Wallace and the IT department and our staff for helping me monitor and manage this virtual meeting. It's my first time going through this, actually, and I really appreciated their help. They were of tremendous guidance and encouragement to me, walking through a few exercises to make this happen. So I want to just thank them for all their support to this council and to myself personally. Thank you. We do have one in-camera item that we will be dealing with, and it is CAO 21-10 regarding the Lynn Street helipad appeal. I will need a motion to move into closed session.
I will have to read out the entire motion.
I'm sorry.
But if we can get a mover and a seconder, I'll read it out, and then.
Okay, I have Councillor Rabbits moving and Councillor Martin seconding.
So that committee and council enter closed session at 8:05 p.m. to address the following matters: CAO 21-10 re 24 Lynn Street LPAT appeal, pursuant to sections 239(2)(e) and F of the Municipal Act 2001, as the subject matter pertains to litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals involving the municipality or local board, and advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose.
And we have a motion to that effect. Any discussion? Councillor Martin? Do I have a motion and a seconder for this, Kevin? I do. I have Councillor Martin, Mayor Chop. All those in favor? Thank you. That is carried. We will now move into closed session for members of the public. We have no other public agenda items when we return, other than to come back out to adjourn this meeting. For your
Mr. Chair, may I just request a quick 5-minute break before we start?
I believe that would be appropriate. Thank you very much. What an excellent suggestion, Councillor Martin.
And Mr. Chair, I've declared a conflict on this one. Do you want me to stick around for adjournment, or do you think you got it?
Councillor Taylor, I think we have this. You have a good evening, and we will see you soon.
Absolutely. Take care, guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
And we will take a 5-minute. Okay.
by reconvening an open session.
So, Kevin, do we need a motion to do that? I believe I have Mayor Chop making the motion, seconded by Councillor Rabbits. All those in favor? Thank you. And Kevin, do I need to also have the information received by committee?
Yeah, you just need to state that we provided direction.
But I'm asking if we need, okay, so we're going to make the motion to receive the staff report?
Sorry, Councillor Michelli. We don't have to do a motion. The motion is complete and closed. So what we do is we inform the public that we have directed, or the council and committee has directed the county solicitor, and that's essentially it.
Thank you. So when can we do that? Right now?
Yeah.
All right. So Kevin, who's making that motion?
Councillor Michelli, it's no motion. Kevin's just indicated for the public, we've provided direction to our solicitor in closed session. That's all. Now we just need to move on to a motion to adjourn.
Okay. Then I will ask for a motion to adjourn. And that is Mayor Chop, seconded by Councillor Huffman. She seems very happy. All in favor? Thank you very much. This council and committee meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Good job, Mr.
Thank
Chair.
you, Councillor Chair Michelli. You did a wonderful job tonight.
Thanks, Scott. I think our